everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be watching We Made Our Friend an International Fugitive. Let's get it.
If you want to understand how we managed to convince an entire country that our friend Kirsten was a terrorist, you gotta know a bit about the history of Indonesia, or like the history of West Papua specifically. So I don't know. If I give you like 3 minutes, then you go on Google and just type in West Papua, and then just read like all of it, then I'll tell the rest of the story once you know what's going on. So. Actually, you know what, this is boring. I don't know what you got up to, but I'll do it from the start, and I'll just explain it. So, Papua is a bit of a mystery for the world, right? It's the last place on Earth to be reached by the Europeans, and it still has hundreds of uncontacted tribes to this day. But Papua's 40,000 year stint of self-love and me-time was interrupted in the 17th century when the Dutch arrived and did what Europeans do whenever they meet new people. Papua's 40,000 year stint of self-love and me-time was interrupted in the 17th century when the Dutch arrived and did what Europeans do whenever they
meet new people. They immediately started measuring their heads and lecturing them about some guy they were obsessed with called Jesus. Now, eventually the Papuans managed to get the Dutch to chill out by agreeing that, they also loved Jesus now. But things somehow got even worse after that. Like, the Dutch started building these, really impressive death camps and introduced the population to the operational efficiency and great profit margins of slave labour. This colonial project spread across all these islands from Papua to Indonesia, known as the Dutch East Indies, one of the most profitable colonies Europe ever created. But unfortunately, after about 300 years of, brilliant Dutch entrepreneurship, the Indonesians finally rose up. And after 29 years of brutal fighting, they kicked the Dutch out and declared independence, which, good on ya. I mean, you got the slavery and the death camps, which is not good, but I think the worst thing the Dutch ever did was, pretend that they had their own language. When it's essentially identical to someone just typing in English, but, you occasionally jiggle the keyboard. Seriously, this is how they write the phrase, "We have a serious problem." It's the dumbest language in the world. Unfortunately, the job of kicking out the Dutch was never fully completed. They liberated 13,000 islands of the Dutch East Indies and united 1,300 ethnic groups under the United States of Indonesia, but the island of Papua was still under European colonial rule. And it was Indonesia's mission to, finish the job and finally liberate Papua from the Dutch. The only issue is that
liberated Indonesia. Sukarno. You can probably tell by how hot he is that he was a socialist, which means the US had to destroy him. Now, at one point, this is not a joke, the CIA tried to get rid of Sukarno with the power of pornography. Now, I know it sounds insane, but it kind of just keeps getting even dumber. I feel like a psychopath even telling you about it, but the CIA hired Bing Crosby, the guy who sang White Christmas, the most popular singer in the world at the time, which firstly, it's insane they managed to flip such a giant celebrity and turn him into a full-on CIA asset, but maybe it's even more insane that they picked him for this Indonesian spy job in the first place, because, what relationship does he have to Indonesia? It's just, it was the 50s, so I assume the CIA was, too racist to work with an actual Asian person, so they just assumed because his name was Bing and he had a unique insight into Asian culture. Anyway, Bing produced an adult film called Happy Days. So they found a Mexican porn star and put a latex mask on him to make him look like the president of Indonesia, and they recorded him having sex. So this was the plan, right? The CIA has this film, and then they release it claiming that, the KGB did it, and they secretly recorded him, having sex on his many trips to the Soviet Union. And look, Indonesia was a country, right? And if the CIA released this, the idea is that they get a 2-for-1 deal. They turn the people of Indonesia against their leader, and they strain the friendly relationship between Indonesia and the Soviets. But when Sukarno found out about the film, he was really excited, right? He wanted copies for himself, he wanted to broadcast it to all of Indonesia because he wanted the country to see that, he fucks like a porn star. The scheme didn't work, but, if you think about it for a second, it was kind of predictable, right? A guy who dresses this good is obviously a sex machine. There's no way you could ever embarrass him. But luckily for the CIA, they moved on to a much...
Okay, so how does any of this relate to his friend being an international fugitive? None of this makes sense at all.
sexy plan. They coordinated and funded the Indonesian military to pull off what's been dubbed the Indonesian Holocaust. Essentially, the army rampaged through the country, rounding up, torturing and murdering every single communist, feminist and trade unionist. They liquidated 1 million unarmed civilians, and overnight, Indonesia flipped from a socialist country to a right-wing military dictatorship. It's one of the most successful CIA operations in world history, and it was a pivotal point that decided the fate of the Cold War. They took the third biggest socialist country in the world, just killed all the socialists, and swapped Sukarno with the pro-Western Suharto. I mean, like, the names are the same, but they're completely different people, right? In the same way that Mary Kate is like the rebellious tomboy and Ashley's the girly girl, Sukarno was the good guy, and he's hot. And then Suharto is just this real piece of shit, just like a Western-backed military dictatorship guy who, like, ran the country for the next 30 years. Now, Indonesia never fully recovered from Suharto's system. He left power after embezzling $35 billion, and for a little while it looked like the people of Indonesia would be able to overcome the military dictatorship. But unfortunately, now the country's run by another general who's also coincidentally Suharto's son-in-law. But anyway, back to Papua. With Indonesia in the hands of the US, suddenly the Americans had no problem with Indonesia taking over Papua and kicking out the Dutch. In fact, you're currently watching a video of Nixon visiting Papua in 1969 to cheer on the Indonesians as they annexed it. But what did the US actually gain from just doing all these horrific things? Well, they got the same thing that the Dutch got from doing it. You see, Papua is incredibly rich in natural resources, and Suharto's first order of business was to grant US companies like Freeport exclusive rights to take it all. So soon enough, places like Glassberg start popping up, which is the biggest copper and gold mine in the world. A hole in the earth that's so big that astronauts on the International Space Station look at it and say, wow, that's a really big hole in the earth. And those holes are going places. There's so much untapped stuff in Papua, but inconveniently there's also a bunch of Papuans trying to live their lives on top of it. And the other problem for Western corporations is that, no matter how much brutality the Indonesian military dictatorship dishes out, the Papuans have continued resisting for the past 60 years, and it turns out they're really good at fighting in the jungle. Now look, I know it's really cheesy and even dehumanizing to compare these people's struggle to a Hollywood movie like James Cameron's Avatar, but it's exactly the same as Avatar. It is Avatar. You have thousands of uncontacted tribes, and their first contact with the outside world isn't even a person. It's an unmanned drone dropping bombs and poisonous chemicals, all for the purpose of wiping them out so they can mine that land's untapped resources. All the while, the heroes of the story are defending their homes with bows and arrows. This is where Kirsten comes into the story. They heard about a particular massacre in Papua last year where Indonesian drones dropped bombs and chemical weapons on a village in the middle of the jungle. Now look, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, so what? Right? Indonesia's been doing these massacres for the past 60 years. What's the big deal? Right? And I would say to that this massacre is different because I can explain it using Jeffrey, the boy bird. It's a cool bird, isn't it? So he's going to explain to you. This just fucking hurts.
It's not that sharp. Stop complaining.
We just don't need. We don't need a bird. It's just stupid dad.
You have to use the bird words.
No, okay. So the massacre was just different, right? You see, the refugees in this recent massacre managed to escape. They hiked across the mountains for a week to get across the border to Papua New Guinea, and they brought with them fragments of the bombs that were dropped on them. They wanted to bring proof so international media could finally start reporting on the secret extermination going on deep in the jungle. But obviously, no one cared, right? And as if the horrors that these people had to go through wasn't enough, these refugees had to make one of the most soul-crushing decisions of their lives. They had to do a collab with YouTubers.
I'm here to figure out who dropped the bomb, who made the bomb, and why it was used on civilians. And I'm kind of screwing up this intro because I'm holding a bomb and I'm terrified.
Kirsten and Christo went and trekked through the jungle to document this evidence and bring it back to a friend in Australia who could conduct forensic testing. Now, it's hard enough to get to a secret war zone, completely cut off from the outside world. But doing it as a journalist is extra hard because Indonesia won't let journalists into West Papua and, they have a track record of killing the ones that do manage to get in. So Kirsten and Christo decided to get in through the back door, through Papua New Guinea, which also doesn't let journalists in, but their story's a little bit different. Papua New Guinea is the other half of the island of Papua, and unlike the Dutch half, Papua New Guinea was first a British colony, and then it was handed down to Australia and became an Australian colony, which is so cucked. It's shit being Australian, because we have to deal with the fact that, a quarter of our flag is someone else's flag. What do the Papuans do, right? right? They're getting fine. But they didn't have to worry about this for too long because apparently Papua New Guinea declared independence in the 70s. But mysteriously, the Australian Federal Police still operate hundreds of bases across the country, and their government is made up of the weirdest looking Papuans I've ever seen. That brings me to the main point, right? Indonesia hasn't invaded, the other side of the island because they're both on the same team. Australia is part of the Dream Team, along with the US and Britain, that created Indonesia's military dictatorship in the 60s. And we fund and train the Indonesian military to this day, while our companies are digging up the island on both sides of the border anyway. Now, getting these bomb fragments out of the country wasn't going to be easy because, Australia controls who comes in and out of Papua New Guinea.
We were arrested in PNG on the way back. Yeah, twice.
Did you know that?
Twice?
Yeah.
But also, we got...
You guys are giggly for being arrested.
Yeah. We flew back from the mountains and we landed and we're like, oh, this was the best. We're like, oh, we've got the story. We're like, we didn't die. Yeah, the footage too, even more importantly. But then we come out and these guys, they go, Crystal, Kirsten, Straight.
Why do they know our names?
And so we try and walk out of the airport.
We're like, no.
We're gonna do it.
Only opposite white people in West Papua.
20 metres next door is the airport we need to go to fly back to Moresby to get out. And so I'm trying to walk there, but they've shut the gates on us and they're going, no, wait.
You're so close to being back home.
Meters away.
What did I say? I was being a real Karen. Like, oh, I've got a job. If I don't get back.
That was my job.
You came up with a way better excuse than mine. Like, I've got a job to do.
You had another job. What was yours?
Malaria.
So it was like, if I get sick here, and not treated, it's going to be a bigger pain in the ass than just letting us go. And then they go, we'll drive you to the airport. And we go, what do you mean? The airport is, I'm not exaggerating, it's 20 metres. It's about 5 steps.
Yeah.
They're like, just get in the police truck, load your bags in.
Yeah, so we had no choice but to get in the van and then
it's
straight.
Airport.
On the way there, the police car stopped and they got out and beat up some bus drivers. Some road rage. Punched in the face.
What the fuck? When I saw that, I was like, oh fuck, what are we going to do today?
I mean, yeah, I was shitting myself then they took us to the police station.
I was just being really annoyed, like, I couldn't get to the airport, my flight's in a second. It was much smarter than actually giving it a good reason. And then at one point they go, can we search your bags? And I go,
And we're like, fuck.
yeah.
So the whole time we were just there for watching,
Yeah. Not that any of this is illegal or allowed to do it. It's completely.
How are they even allowed to move bomb fragments on a plane? I'm speechless.
But it's just not a great look when you've got a 40mm grenade cartridge.
So it turns out Kirsten's malaria performance was so believable, they ended up letting them on their flight to Port Moresby, and then they were just one plane ride away from home. Needless to say, they felt pretty good at this point.
So we managed to race through and we checked our bags in and then
It was
we're
really,
going through...
we're laughing, right? We're
Yeah,
like, oh, we've done
how
it.
did we do it? And then they look at our passports and they're like, okay, you have to come with us. They took us downstairs to the interrogation room, 40 minutes, an hour.
About to leave, keep being really annoyed, like, can we have our interrogation now? We gotta go. And then they're going, no, you're not gonna make the plane. Just
And we were just shitting it, we were almost there.
They're like, you went to a really strange place at the border. When you were there, did you see any OPM? And Kirsten goes, OPM,
Opium?
the drug?
Opium.
You're really good at this.
They're like, you're the journalist, right? I go, what? And
then they pull up YouTube and they pull up his previous videos.
You made that video. What video?
Oh my god.
I have my last video on Papua there.
Oh, okay, that a Papua one. I thought it would be KFC reviews or
And then I went, oh, that one, yeah. This time just tourism.
Now, it was looking like they were going to be locked up in Papua New Guinea for a very long time, but Lucky for them, the cops couldn't find the missile fragments they had in their luggage.
Because we'd already checked our luggage in, which was
Whoa.
like, thank fuck, because
It's just like a string of like coincidences that got you out of there. It's so ridiculous.
Now, the craziest thing about all this isn't the fact that, they got arrested twice. It's the fact that arresting them was the most any government's ever done about these massacres. No one has tried to help these people. No one even acknowledges it happened. Like, the most resources the government ever put into this was sending police to harass anyone who tries to report on it. But we found out not all the media was silent. Like, there was some news about this, right? Like, about a month after they got back to Australia, somehow a picture of Kirsten visiting the Papuans came out on Indonesian media, and she became an overnight sensation.
Oh!
What's in the hand, Kirsten?
Out of nowhere, there emerged hundreds of news articles and videos claiming that Kirsten was a terrorist, and they all revolved around this one photo of Kirsten shaking hands with some Papuans.
what am I giving to her?
Only you know. Some say it's the nuclear codes. Watch out, Jakarta.
What was in your hand?
I think we're just shaking hands.
How many of these are there? There's so many pictures of you on Indonesian media.
Now, having photos of yourself all over the news is one thing, but there were some serious allegations here. Like, they claimed that Kirsten personally killed, Indonesian government officials while she was there.
Who they saying they killed?
No, I think it was government officials there.
You don't even know who you killed.
Yeah.
Just,
You're that deep on
just don't care.
Just an agent of chaos. Member of the armed criminal
Just go
group.
whoever, honestly.
You haven't seen this before, have you?
No.
How does it feel being a terrorist?
It feels kind of scary. I don't know what I'm capable of.
Now, there's something really odd about these articles, right? They seem strangely coordinated, right? They came from all over the place, but they pretty much copied each other verbatim. Although while most of them only insinuated that the death of Indonesian soldiers was linked to Kirsten's arrival, some of them straight up said that she shot them personally. But when you look it up, you realise it's not that coincidental. Indonesia's military has been exposed running bot farms spreading misinformation about Papua. And this is nothing new, right? A lot of countries do this, but it's just baffling that such a coordinated disinformation campaign was directed at Kirsten. Which got me thinking, right? We're in a pretty funny situation here, right? Indonesia and their Western backers, don't want anyone talking about what they're doing in Papua. But at the same time, domestically, the Indonesian media goes crazy. Their bot farms go wild whenever a foreigner takes interest in it. So we thought maybe we could use Indonesia's sensationalist media against them, right? If we can turn Kirsten into a world-famous terrorist like Osama bin Laden or Tony Blair, then maybe we can get some more international attention on Papua. So we got to work, but this time we created a spectacle for the Indonesian media on purpose, while trying really hard to not actually get Kirsten in trouble for, actual terrorism, because that wouldn't be very nice. So we need to think of something that insinuates being a terrorist, but is obviously completely benign. So if we go to paintball and get a photo of you there and see if it'll catch a laser tag.
Yeah.
Would they think they know what high-tech military equipment is though? We can't have you at laser tag and concentrated energy weapons or something.
Well, an empty hand was good enough for a story
true.
Just
before.
go like this.
You should be shaking with 2 hands.
2 hands.
If the handshake was enough, maybe we could just be doing nothing.
You know, we
maybe
could-
we'd be playing chess.
You know,
We could do LARPing.
Yeah,
Just do
that's right.
Renaissance fair. Medieval weapons.
archery would work because they don't like they're not fans of the bows and arrows that the TPN use.
I mean, archery would be cool. And then what we do, we put it out there being
Yeah.
are you training them? Surely they know how to do archery. What's the insinuation? Are you
Providing.
Bows and arrows.
Bows and
that
arrows.
They can make
can,
completely
yeah,
fine.
they're training me. I don't know.
That's what's quite that's also what's really funny about it. It's oh yeah, they need our help.
Yeah.
We're gonna teach them a thing or two from being our extensive experience.
It's Australia's in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Nina West going in to
Nina
teach Papuans how to do archery.
Yeah.
Gonna teach them how to go to gigs. What else did
Order coffee. Yeah.
I think we could just go do archery.
I want to do archery anyway.
We'll do archery.
We just do that at their
Archery. No excuse to go.
Yeah, let's go. And it'll be
I'm so confused on what the plan is, but I think archery would be hilarious. if somehow or whatever Indonesia tries to say that she's a terrorist by teaching the tribes that have used bow and arrows for thousands of years. That's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, but it'll somehow work. It'll definitely work. I don't know how is this even legal? I know in America this is very illegal to allege something that has never happened. Or not illegal, but you can get sued for it.
How are you feeling? What's this thing?
You started handing me things.
I feel like it's a massive part of our body, but I can't work out what that is. There's a hole.
Really?
It looks like a penis detector. Like a one slightly bigger ball than the other. Doing a scary terrorist photo shoot of Kirsten was harder than we thought. You know, the bone wasn't really cooperating.
What do you think of
That's not
Alright. The target's can move in a real fight.
Targets is subjective.
Yeah. Now, I knew that making Kirsten look scary was going to be hard, but it got even more complicated when the instructor revoked her bow and arrow privileges.
So what do you do? You want to there? Okay. When you grab this, put it here.
You can't be trusted with a bow. They put you on the rubber band.
You're meant to hold it.
I find that crazy was.
Hey, careful that rubber band. Don't point it at me. No.
But out of nowhere, like a Taliban sleeper cell, she started doing this.
Holy shit! What is going on?
Oh my god.
So you are actually crafted, aren't you?
He's a terrorist. That's why they get
It's so real.
So she ended up getting dressed up and, we did our militant photo shoot. And I don't know, I guess you could say it was a successful day in the sense that, we got some tax deductible archery lessons and we took a couple of photos. But in terms of this actual video, I just kind of felt like we're wasting our time. In no world would the Indonesian government, see these photos and be like, oh yeah, Kirsten is an international terrorist or like a mercenary. But we've come this far. The least I can do is make sure the photos get into the hands of the Indonesian government. So I looked it up and it turns out they live here. Okay, so we got the dossier here. I've compiled an extensive list of sources about Kirsten being a super soldier mercenary. They're all kind of the same photo. But it's a lot of interesting news here. And then you got the glamour shots, the actual real deal badass terrorist photo shoot. What do you reckon? This looks pretty serious, right?
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I think with that aim, his arrows are going kilometers apart.
I feel like I probably should have padded it with more paper. It's like, this doesn't scream like top secret documents. They're like 4 pages of just like screenshots from the news.
Secret training camp uncovered.
Oh yeah. Should I brought my son because that looked more like undercover, like a secret dossier kind of guy? Or is this more like reliable?
I'm just really having trouble picturing the title of snitching about a training camp in Aruba.
I think the study is there. Yeah, the study is. Yeah, this is sick. Fuck, I feel cool. Hi there. How are you? I've got some documents that I think the Indonesian government might be interested in. It's about these mercenaries that snuck into West Papua. She's actually like a bow and arrow expert. So they train really close to here. It's down at Latham Park. They've been training archery to go infiltrate West Papua. In there? Okay. Oh, perfect. Thanks so much. Oh, thank you. Now look, we're trying to get our friend classified as a terrorist, which is, dodgy enough. So the last thing we want to do is get done for the crime of, secretly filming inside a foreign consulate. So there's no footage from inside the building. Look, it was awful in there. I mean, like, the place was nice. It was lovely, and people were really nice to me, but I felt like a psycho, right? Like, I just seemed like a really unwell person who just, like, strolled in his pajamas and is just, like, ranting about this conspiracy theory. And they kind of confused. Like, they didn't know what to do with me, so they just kind of, what they ended up doing was they just kept escalating it, right? They'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do. Here's my manager. And it's like, oh, here's my manager's manager. And it just kept going up until it reached, like, the consular staff, like, actual political people. And then, like, the only way they got me to shut up was by, agreeing with me and being like, okay, we'll promise the president will see these documents. And then I went, it's out of my hands now. Now it's up to the president. Now, it seemed pretty obvious by my reception at the consulate that everyone thought I was insane. Like, there's no way that anyone would be looking at these photos and be like, oh yeah, this is serious. This is a terrorist. I'm going to take this seriously.
What did they say?
Mystery of the Australian Caucasian girl who dared to enter the Papuan forest. That was grim, Terry.
That's why you never enter the Papuan forest. Well, you have to be a good girl and stay with grandma. Oh, sick. Oh my god.
How do you not?
The news stories just kept coming and coming. They were making faster than we could watch them.
How does that? I don't understand how those two pictures follow each other. It goes through these guys with fucking automatic weapons and a picture of you crouching in a tree.
Look how many. You got that one, the behind the tree, the artistic angle. We got every photo.
And they like flip them around.
Yeah.
They want like a different preference for how they want you to do your bow and arrow.
Just like these two.
Just flip them. Yeah, now we have two articles.
Now, I thought the previous articles used some pretty colourful language, but
Interesting how the comments look on these videos.
these new articles blew them out of the water.
OPM inserts 2 Caucasians into KKB Papua headquarters.
Who inserted?
Into Caucasians. Two Australian foreigners infiltrate Papua, spread the charm of OPM's promise of independence.
Spread the charm. You guys feel like you charmed your way into West Papua?
That's right, we had little hats on. Good day, sir.
But amidst all the charm and the inserted Caucasians, there were some scarier allegations, trying to link Kirsten to even more murders, some of them as recent as 2 weeks ago.
Wait, 2nd November, that was just then.
Yeah.
You guys, what did you do? That was probably like the day we were doing archery. I still think it was you guys. I don't know where you were on November 2nd. 2 weeks ago. Oh, whoa! He's really terrified by these Indonesian media. He didn't realize he was owned by a terrorist. He's shitting himself.
Now, these weren't just random bot farms calling Kirsten a terrorist. This story spread, and it was being reported by real news networks.
Tribune just saying on the big paper.
3 million subscribers.
Wait, what? This is so much bigger than putting it on Boy Boy.
Yeah.
That being said, there were definitely some military bot farms.
It was by Hippo Academy.
What the fuck?
Legitimate news outlet.
Indonesia's not sending their best. 1 like, 3 followers. What is this? They're just like an AI generated.
Type of subscribers.
Yeah, this is a military bot channel that's picked up on the newswire.
That's so good. Hippo Academy. It just seems like pointless. Like, whose job is it to make things? This is a horrible doubling up.
This is just unrelated.
Yeah.
It's just,
What is going on? Who watches this?
let's see, how many views do 21,000 views.
That's impossible. That's impossible.
No, comments.
Well, what are they saying about you? If there are Australians who interfere in Papuan affairs or support the OPM, they must be destroyed. They have nothing walking towards. They're going to destroy you.
Good luck destroying her.
Yeah, with a bow and arrow.
Now, eventually, the rambling bot videos were getting, too stupid to keep watching.
Stay tuned to how their journey unfolds. So if we subscribe to this channel, we'll find out what happens to you guys.
Yeah, we gotta subscribe to Cup Jejak. 942.
I kind of want to know what happens to you guys. We might subscribe to them. Oh, God.
Kirsten Bunny was acting out exactly what we were all thinking, right? There's no point reading another 1,000 identical articles about Kirsten being a terrorist. It's absurd that a photo this stupid was enough to trigger such a massive reaction from Indonesia's media and military bot farms. So they inadvertently made a massive deal out of something they don't want anyone talking about, right? Like the fact is, the world isn't just ignoring what's happening, right? The world is facilitating and profiteering off of, the extermination of some planet Earth's last uncontacted tribes. Right? And these are just subsistence farmers. Like, these are people who are just trying to defend their villages from unmanned drones and chemical weapons sent by us. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I honestly wouldn't have known anything about this if it wasn't for Kirsten and Christo and their bravery. They travelled to a secret war zone, put their lives at risk, and became the first people ever to retrieve physical proof of Indonesian bombing in the jungle. So go check it out yourself, right? Click the link in the description and see the full story about Indonesia's war crimes. And, it's not just that, right? They're the only journalists in the world who have actually, followed the secretive OPM, resistance movement as they march through the jungle. This sort of doesn't exist anywhere else, so do it. Click on it. Also, come to our Patreon, right? If you want to support us and help.
Well, what a great video. That was probably one of the weirdest things I've ever heard about, but that was still a good video. Anyways, guys, I'm uploading every day this week to make up for last week or last 2 weeks, but make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I need some more video ideas. Send me links to videos you guys want me to watch. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.